Let's see. I think that's just, right, maybe that's where, your shit can get turned off. That's why I'm not that's why I don't have a YouTube channel that's why I don't spend any time or energy on my YouTube channel, because because you have no control over it. I have no idea. For all I know, they're just like, you know what? For all I know, I said Trump and the fucking algorithm shut me down. Right? I just said it. I just said the word and something. There was like, I mean, Google's already said they're going to use their monopolistic control over human interconnectivity to manipulate the next presidential election. Like how we don't recognize that's universally bad. Anyway, yeah, that's what I said. I think fuck Google, fuck all that. I can't. That's not good. But whatever. Yeah, I swear that was somebody. I swear we tripped some sort of thing. No, that was not an earthquake. We had the earthquake earlier. That was a fun ththing. I liked the earthquake. It was kind of fun. I had just one moment where I just thought, that's over the line. Well, you know what? In fact, I bet if the whole world knows about, oh yeah, my phone's all blown up. Yeah. Everybody's going, Mom, are you alive? I was like, that's how they reported, like we're all dead. I'm alive. We're okay. It's all right, Mom. Anyway, so yeah, so that's study jazz. Like I said, that one composer. I know I'm going back a little bit, but study jazz. Get out of classical. Study jazz. You just bought 4 of my master classes. Good. Which ones? I promise they're all. They've all been around a while. I mean, except for the new ones. But I watched them carefully. At least when they first release, and really watch to make sure that people are getting stuff out of them. And if they didn't, there was only ever one class I did. I actually did, in 5 years I've been doing them, there's one class that I did it, and at the end, I turned off the stream, and I was like, that was dog shit, and I deleted it, and it's never been available. It's only ever happened once, and I just was like, and I don't know that it was, but I know that I felt like it was. Oh, comp 1, 2, counterpoint, and chord voicings. Great combination there, if I do say so myself. But no, those really are those have great philosophical. That's good. I'll take that. People always ask me which ones to take, and I'm always like just whatever, because they're designed to all work together, and there's always a little bit of overlap. But they're not like, there's only one class I think that I've done that has prerequisites to it, and that would be composition 4. And it's just because it gets into some pretty deep shit. And so I'm just like, there's no point in even going here unless you've done the other. Oh, On Horner. Yeah, that's my favorite class, by the way. On Horner is my personal favorite class because of that. James Horner was just such an influence on me. Just a major influence. Huge James Horner fan. So it was very, very personal class. Really important. My whole thing with James Horner was compositionally very, very important. And so I structured that class so that that class unfolds the way my relationship with James Horner unfolds. And so it's like, it's a different class. It's a really unique class. Other ones don't feel like that one. But people go through a thing during that class, and that was absolutely intentional because it's what I went through. So that's my favorite one. Yeah, it's got a narrative arc. That class has a narrative arc. Not many of them do. I took the rhythm and perk class. I thought there was going to be nothing new, but holy crap, I loved it. Learned so many things. Yeah, man. And two, sometimes just hearing people say things differently, And because I make sure that people realize that the disciplines are not separate, composition and orchestration and voice leading, that they're really all part of the same thing. There's always a careful, callback, sort of an intertextuality of the classes, so that you're never like learning just the one thing. Somehow you're connected to all the classes, and the more you take, the more they inform each other, and then the tighter the matrix gets. Your understanding thing, that little nucleus core of big picture understanding gets stronger. It happens without you having to do anything, because the disciplines aren't actually ever separate. We may be focusing on one, but you can't ever be talking about this discipline. You can't ever be talking about orchestration without talking about composition. And you can't be talking about composition without talking about orchestration. As you know, as I've said many times, the orchestration's built in if you know how to look for it, Yeah, the Williams class would have been, the Williams classes obviously were important for me too, because I want to transcribe Horner when I get his scores. Is Masterclass going to spoil it for me? No, because no, I mean, no, 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 it's not going to spoil it for you. No, there's a lot in that class, but there's a lot in his career, just as there is in Williams stuff, and obviously Williams has a different take for me personally, just because of that's why I became a composer, was John Williams' music. Yeah, man. I'm working on the. Oh, okay. Santique de Jean Racine. I had not heard that term. I have not heard it, but good. Work on any mock-up that you like. Working on mock-ups is good. It's a perfectly good way to transcribe. That's a slightly contradictory take on it, given that I like to simplify things, and that in the end, I've said, I think I said this. I came out of the gate on one of the most recent master classes, and I don't remember if it was So 80s or chord voicing. It was one of them. I think it was chord voicing, where I just said, "That's it. Step away from your templates because it's causing more problems than solving them." Which I actually really do believe that it doesn't. They're so misleading, and and it's making life infinitely harder than it needs to be. Versus getting back to the piano and learning to do your voicings on the piano, just like John Williams did, and Jerry Goldsmith did, and Aaron Copland did, and Shostakovich did, and Holst did, and everybody else did. But that's a whole other thing. How much of the music that I transcribe do I actually write down? These days, not that much. I have two classes that focus on Williams music. One of them is called, I don't know, Here's Johnny, and then Here's Johnny 2. That's what they're called. But in the beginning, I wrote everything down because I had to look at it, because I had to take the writing, and when I could eventually get the scores. But when I was transcribing the beginning, and this is a really important part of it, is you always be transcribing stuff you can get the score to, so that you can take a look at it. That's the point where you have to be able to see how you did. And I was transcribing big band stuff because I was in a jazz big band in my high school, and I loved these charts, and they had great voice leading and great chords, and so I would try to write them down, and then I would go to the library, the conductor's library, and get the score out and go, oh, okay, is that what it is? Shit, then I would be wrong, and I would work on it like that. So is there any chance you could do another class like the Composing a Film in 7 Days, but about the Bravestorm movie? Oh, wow, Bravestorm. Maybe explain your thought process and techniques? Yeah. Bravestorm, not Blader, right? Bravestorm? Oh, Bravestorm. Oh, God. Oh, no, that's the other one. Bravestorm. Yeah. I suppose so. See, when I don't listen to my own stuff ever. I never do that. I never go to premieres of the films that I score. The work is the work. And then when I'm done with the work, I'm done with it. I'm just done. It's not like I don't not go. I'm done. And so it took me a minute trying to remember which one Bravestorm was. But Bravestorm is filed in my mind in that category of like, I was executing, just like How to Score in 7 Days. I was less executing, but still mostly executing. And in my mind, it's like, well, that doesn't count. That's not really what I do. I was executing. I didn't get to think about one note of that. But then again, that's also what you find out what you're really capable of. I think that's how you really test your skill, is when you have to write a film score in 7 days and have it not be dog shit. It's like, what could you do at 3 o'clock in the morning, half, hungover? Get up and write. Like when that person came in the door, write a little piece of music. Like, that's how you find out what your actual ready at the waiting at all times, ready to pull the trigger skill set is. And, as long as it doesn't suck, then you can work. But when I think about analyzing music or scores, that would mean it would have to be in my category, like all my master classes, where I go, they will really benefit from studying this. And I don't know that I feel that about that score. But, if people really do, I'll talk about it. I transcribe stuff I love. Yes, you should. Yes, that's exactly what you should do. Devices, things you love, yeah. I mean, I ended up transcribing this one Schumann piece. Just because I was radio dialing, surfing back when you, and I heard this. I was like, that sounded like Williams. I ended up transcribing this whole like symphony. I don't know which one it is. Had that voicing in it. Ooh, what was that? I can go find out what that is. And then I ended up transcribing a lot more of it. But just go get things that you love. Even when I mock up the transcriptions, often I've missed things. Yeah, a lot of it. So what happens with transcriptions, especially with start with simple stuff, man, and start simpler. Start with simple bars, short ideas. Don't give yourself a break. But what happens is with transcription, at some point, you literally can't hear some things. But after enough time, you start to recognize patterns and choices, and you understand why choices are being made or styles. So even if you can't hear it, you'll look at a part and you'll be like, I know what it is. I can't hear this, but it's going to be this, because it's that kind of piece, and it's always that when it's this kind of piece. Or you might see something that you can hear, and then there's like a hole, and on the other side, and you're like, well, the logical way that you connect that is with this. I mean, this is how you do it. It's you know what I mean? So you end up filling in gaps because it's what it would always be. It's like if somebody was making a fucking dessert, and and you're like, well, I didn't watch him make it, but it's this kind of thing. It's going to have these things in it, and then maybe you go, I think it's got a little nutmeg in there too, but it's just you've made it, you know what it is, so you fill in the gaps. Again, this is after years and years and years of study, but that ultimately becomes part of it, because there are some really complex things you just can't hear due to the limitations in the recording or fidelity issues. So yeah. Being a teen in the 80s and realizing one day in a music shop Williams did all the movies I loved, I was never happy the day I took home a scorebook of his stuff at 13. Yeah, man. Am I in Cali? I am in Cali. I'm still alive in Cali. Yeah, man. Yeah. I knew it was, I was, like I said, my eye was on radar. Radar was on Williams from the time I was 5. Have I passed the stone yet? I don't think so. I don't know. I got to get another x-ray. I can't tell. Some of my music engravings turned mock-ups were transcribed from original audio sources. Among them is the late Shirley Walker's main and end themes from Space, Above and Beyond. Right on. Also among them, the late Joel Goldsmith's end title theme from Stargate SG-1. Right on. Right on. How much time during the day is study versus work? Well, again, if you start recognizing that that your life experience and the things that you have to say and want to express are as much the work as anything else, then it's all study and all work all the time. And that's not just a clever answer. That's really true. I like to keep music joyous and the experience of it joyous to the greatest degree possible. But then there's also times you just got to fucking slog it out. Like if you haven't learned to read music, you're just going to have to bust out a flashcard app and you're just going to have to do it for a couple weekends, and there's no way around that. But I certainly don't. I chose this life partly because I can't stand regularity in schedules, or you know what I mean. So my life is different every day, and I like it that way. And if if I'm on a thing, I'll lose 16 hours just sitting there working on a thing. I don't even realize it. So, but then the next day I just might be like, I just can't fucking sit at that piano anymore. I just can't. I can't do it. I'm gonna go to the park and throw a ball with my son and live a little bit. You know what I mean? It all comes back in the music sooner or later. So, but you know, it's good to have goals and things, and you know, and I think it's just based on your proclivities and your personality, how regimented you want those things. This month I will learn. Okay, that's you. I tend to be real loose and organic with that stuff. Because the important part, the motivation, is already taking care of itself. I already always see. I listen to music all the time that still scares the shit out of me. I surround myself with people that are masters of their craft in all kinds of disciplines: actors, directors, writers. I'm always surrounded by people whose skill level is way up here, so that I always feel all the time like, you know, that thing like, man, I suck. I have no business. I shouldn't even be. I should just give up. I like that feeling because I can't give up, and it makes me work harder. So, you know, that's just a personal choice. It keeps my expectation. My bar is real high for myself, so that natural motivation means I don't have to be told to practice or to put a certain amount of time or hours. I'm doing it because I'm all the time feeling like I'm behind the ball. You know, and I just turned 47. That may not be very old, but that to me feels like I'm running out of time. So I'm like working that much harder. You know, I work all the time, constantly, to get better because I feel like I'm behind the ball. Because I'm listening to people all the time who are fucking amazing, and and as long as I still look at, you know, in fact, I was just listening to Britain's 4C interludes the other day, and you know, at this point in my career, like I understand it, I know what it is, and still there's plenty of parts of it I'm just like. But at the time, like, where the fuck did he get that? Like, I only understand it because I've heard it. But do I have any? You know, that piece scares me, in the good way. Which film composers do you like? Pre-Williams and Goldsmith. Yeah, you know, Herman. Any of the composers, Roja or Korngold. They just. I don't even know how to separate whether I like them from the fact that I can hear how good they were. I can hear the craft. It's like the amount of deserved respect that I have for them seems to eclipse any subjective view of the work. You know, it's like I don't even know if I like it. All I know is it's fucking amazing. Like that's how I feel about most of those composers. Speaking, his theme from NBC Nightly News introduced me to him, yes. Too bad Holst rips it off, yes. Oh, come on. It was embarrassing it took me that long. Great little tune. Not to mention the composer behind the fanfare for the now Disney-owned 20th Century Fox album. Yeah. Man, great. I mean, like I said, you know, I listen to, I mean, just for myself, I listen to a lot of vintage stuff, you know, because I just hear stuff all the time that is just like, damn, what is that? And that's where I want to be all the time. I want to all the time be, you know what I mean? How do I deal with writer's block? Which class is that, guys? That's all about that. Is that? Well, I think I have a thing of free YouTube on that, don't I? I think I got a couple things on that on YouTube. I don't remember all my content, but I'm pretty sure that sounds like something I've talked about. How do you deal with? Oh, there's a video on how to write when you don't feel like it. But anyone know where to find the NBC bumpers on shorts that he wrote? I got them, but I don't know where I got them from. It's the fucking. It might have been Kickstarters. Yeah, I don't remember, but if you can help them, I have some class where I deal with writer's block. I mean, you know, lots of times I just walk the fuck away. But also, I will also deliberately write in keys that I'm not comfortable in, and it'll force me to do different stuff. But I also know I did at least one YouTube video on writing when you don't feel like it. Have I heard Thomas Burgeson's latest suite, The American Dream? I don't think so. No, I haven't. Or if I have, I didn't. It didn't stick. Again, I don't, I certainly don't listen to contemporaries with any regularity. Because none of us are on the level of the greats. Just none, zero, zip, none of us. And that goes doubly for me. Speaking of NBC, I heard a tune by Stan Zebka called Chimes. That is a Google News, okay. Like I said, there's nobody that I know of that's writing that's in our group that I feel like is heir apparent to the greats of 40 years ago. There's like some that are better than others, and some are like, oh, he can write, but I can't remember the last time. I have yet to be frightened of anybody that I've heard, and that's my. Whereas I'm routinely frightened by, your average thing that I've listened to from the '60s. That's my. Yeah, secret weapons to Moscow. Oh yeah. I mean, again, like somebody listed a bunch of classes that I've used for that talk about breaking through blocks, and it's sort of that list. It's like they're all going to be that in one way or the other. Because as I started this whole thing tonight by just noodling around with playing on predictable chord changes, it's always easier to fix something than to create something. So put something down, and then at least it's real and it's tangible. Did I listen to Chick Corea's Electric Band? Listen to the shit out of it. And that's why I recorded my half the piano on my first album when I was 20. I recorded it at Chick's place on his pianos at Mad Hatter Studio. And because he was like huge to me, and it was a real thrill playing on his pianos, man. I was just like, this is the fucking Spain piano and all that shit. It was cool. He had two pianos. I played mostly on his Bosendorfer. I think my album is mostly his Bosendorfer. As I recall, I'd have to go and look. Great intimate little room. It was really cool. Now, have you heard of the score of David Newman of Brave Little Toaster? No. Dave Newman is my favorite of the Newmans, just what that's worth. Lots of Ravel in there. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, man. Dave's real flexible. Lots of chops. Yeah. I've often thought, that if I, directing my own film, I don't think I'd do the score for it because you only have so much energy for a film. And I thought, well, who would I hire as a composer on a film that I do? And Dave Newman's on my short list. He's on my short list. Lots of chops. Bruce Broughton. That's who I'd hire today, I think. If I had to, yeah. I'm trying to think if there's anybody else I would even really consider. Right now, those are the only two names coming. Silvestri, maybe, but probably not. Because I think it would take a while to get him back into. I think you'd have to be like, no, you're free. I think it would take a while to get him. I feel like it would take a while to get him back into. Anyway, cliche question: if you could have a long conversation with any of the greats, who would you choose? I would choose the one that I thought I would have the most interesting conversation that wasn't about music with. This is one of the reasons I've never had any relationship with John Williams and have never really wanted to, is because he's very consistently, I know people who know him intimately, and we used to live blocks apart. I used to see him a lot. And all of his, all of his stuff is in the music. We would not be drinking buddies. And that's who I would want to have a conversation with, because ultimately the person and their life experience informs the music. And I can study the music all day. I don't need to talk to the composer to understand the musical expression. What I would want to be talking about the composer is like where it came from, and the way that you would talk about that is just by getting to know them. So I don't really know what the answer to that would be. I would think if I had to just choose from the short list, like of the people that my major influences because of when I was born, film composers were William, Goldsmith, Horner, and Silvestri. That's probably the short list of it. Of those, Goldsmith, because he was cool. And he's just cool, dude. And he was just cool, and he's down to earth and real simple. That would be the guy I would want to talk to. And again, I wouldn't want to, talk to him about music. I don't need to talk to him about music. I get it. I know he's doing musically. I want to know everything else. John Williams and David Newman are conducting at the Hollywood Bowl next month. Oh, cool. Over a decade since I last went to the Hollywood Bowl, but for the Tchaikovsky Spectacular. I love his music, even the 1812 Festival Overture. I even like that one. Yeah, a few people do. What is your favorite in the top left corner? What is your favorite in the top left corner of the screen? What is your favorite? Oh, favorite alcohol in there? Well, I mean, I'm a bourbon and Tennessee whiskey kind of guy. Not a Scotch guy. I have a lot of good ones in there. That would be a favorite, man. It's just right now, I'm just so into Blanton's. I don't know. I'm sort of blind to everything other than Blanton's right now. Blanton's good for drinking whiskeys, just drink. I mean, I think they have a lot of smooth whiskeys now. Anybody can drink whiskey now. But Stranahan's is so drinkable. I like Stranahan's, and I like Blanton's a lot. There's a Michter's 10 back there that's good. I actually like the Jack Daniel's Sinatra. I actually like that one a lot. Single barrel too. I like more so than Gentleman. I'll still use regular Jack as a mixer. What's back there? There's Parker's Heritage is back there. There's a bunch of them. One of my inspirations were the early video game scores. Call of Duty, Michael Giacchino, yeah. Okay. Sure. Sondheim or Lloyd Webber? Sondheim, right? Sondheim. I mean, I played a lot of Lloyd Webber because my mom would listen to the shit of that stuff. What was this? What was that one? Or something like that. What was that? What was that one? Is that Cats or some shit? Cats, yeah. And, oh, God, I remember, though. I stopped listening to Lever at this one. That was it. Fuck you. I walked away. I never listened to him again. Fuck you. I hated that. Starlight Express I saw in London. I don't think that was Lloyd Webber, was it? I don't know. Starlight Express, and at the time, they had all the fucking guys all going around the fucking, that was an awesome show. Phantom. Fuck Phantom. My favorite thing I've ever written, I don't have any favorite thing. Nothing. Although this is funny because this just came up. I was just telling a story about this, that there's this show, this little detective light mystery comedic detective show. And one of the things, I had done this, my ex-wife did this little series of movies that were called Inspector Mom. And I had written this little theme for it. And I don't know why. That's the closest. It's this little goofy little theme, but the structure on it is so fun. And I had forgotten about it because I don't listen to my own stuff. And she asked me to dig it out of archive last night, and I dug it out. I hadn't heard it since I wrote it. And I remember listening to it and just going like, that's the closest I'm going to ever get to actually liking something that I wrote. I actually liked that little tune. It was this fun little theme. It was called Inspector Mom. And it's like, I like this. I know it's like this little thing. It's not even anything, but I like it. Because you know why? I think it's because I know where I was in my writing at the time. I know where I was in my chops. And I think the reason I like it is because that piece came out exactly the way it was in my brain. And that almost never happens, and it didn't happen as often back then, where it was like, like that's the thing. It's exactly what I heard was exactly how it came out. I think that's why I like it because I think tune is. Can I play it? Oh, I don't think so. I mean, I don't think so. I don't have it or anything. Do you prefer to join a film when it's in post production or before production? Well, I mean, before that's a big question. You know, I wouldn't be working on the film before the film was done, but I wouldn't be working on the film at all unless I'd already talked to and worked with the director and knew what their musical sense was, and and had the conversations about the music and the sensibility that would get us through all the conversations that composers and directors would be having. So yes, I do, and I do when I do the directors that I do work for, we have discussions about certain types of music and about what's going on prior to actually writing the music. So in that way, I'm part of it from the very beginning, and just so that I can start to think of it. And if some ideas come to me, then I can burn through them and get to the good ideas. But a lot of it too, I know there's only going to be so much juice on a film, and I like to save it until I actually see the film, and get a little bit nervous about the deadline. You're doing lots of mock-ups. That's good. Again, too, like I said, just you'll have to know, and you'll have to just gauge for yourself how much of your mock-up stuff, is served best by doing it full with the template versus doing it on the piano. It's up to you. I don't. I did all my mock-ups after having done it on paper, orchestrated on paper from the piano, because that's how the greats did it. So I always wanted to do it the way they did it. You know what I mean? So. How do I deal with burnout? I mean, I do a lot of different things. I work in visual effects, I work in fabrication, and I direct things, and I do film restoration, and just a lot of different things. I run a charity foundation, and I speak to domestic violence groups on behalf of the state of California. I do a lot of different stuff, all of which informs the music. So if I find myself at the burnout stage, I have something else that I'm doing, and I often trade and go through a lot of different wells in order to stop that from happening. But then I also make sure that if somebody says I need this, I have chops enough in those disciplines to be able to muscle through, a gig if I need it or need to do it. And again, it's always easier to change something than to invent it. So just being able to put something down and make it serviceable, and then go, okay, all right, now let's fix it. Can get you through a lot. Chops can get you. Your training can get you through a lot of stuff like that. But burnout, that happens. And so I do other things. I think that's practically a good thing for a creative professional anyway. Have lots of different wells to draw from. Philosophical question. What do you think it is about mastery that we subconsciously find appealing in any art or field? Is that mastery allows the artist to capture a brief moment of life? Somebody once described a lot of the process as being in a state of perpetual divine dissatisfaction. And I certainly relate to that and agree with that. And I think the idea for me, mastery is actually, it's the illusion of mastery, that no matter how much I learn, there's always another thing to learn, and I can sense it. And so it's just like a carrot, So for me, the quest of it that I'll never get to, the quest is the quest. But by the same token, if you do it long enough, you do get some sort of absolute sense of improving and having control over what you do. I was just talking to some people today that have been veterans in their own industry for decades and decades, and we talked about the comfort of knowing you can do it, but that just becomes a launching pad for all kinds of other stuff to do. And I think I actually saw somebody asking about it. Is there a point that you can ever really get control of what you do? Yeah, absolutely. You can get a point where there becomes very little filter between what you hear and what comes out, and you can get increasing. It becomes almost extemporaneously fluid. You can do that, but then that burden goes down, but it doesn't change the burden of what you have to say, man. You still have to. What do you have to say? What's the compelling thing you have to talk about? What's the compelling life experience that's motivating your work? You never get around that. And life continues to change you. If you're living, you're changing and you're growing, and then you always have new things to say. And even if it's things that you thought about before, you're going to revisit them differently as you're older. So, so mastery to me is it's the pursuit of mastery that's motivating to me. Do you compose first the main theme and the rest of the film? No, I mean, I usually, I score, as I talk about in both the scoring classes or however many scoring classes I have, I score linearly, beginning to end. I fell into that trap way too many times on shows and movies when I started out. I would score the scene that I heard the most clearly. And then I mean, you could count on it. By the time I actually got to it in the context of a film, either the scene didn't need music at all or it would be totally different. So I learned, experience it the way the audience experiences it. I learned that lesson early, painfully. So I do that. But lots of times I will develop a theme as I'm thinking about it based on just like, I hear a thing that maybe that'll work out. But very often when I discover things as I go and then I retrofit them earlier in the film. So like a theme might show up in one way as I first write it. By the end of 5 weeks or 4 weeks or a week or however long it's been, and I get to the end of the movie, by that point I've worked out like the better version of the theme, like the real one, you know what I mean? Like I've had just more time with it, and then I'll go back and retrofit the earlier versions of it with the final version. That happens a lot. Yeah, Sibelius, I still use Sibelius. Sibelius 6. So, yeah. Somebody asked about that theme. I'm going to put this in. I don't know that this will work. You can try this if you really want to hear that. This may or may not work. I mean, this is like a mock-up. This is like a long time ago. These are like early samples. These are like S760 samples. This is back in the day. Somebody Roland S760. This is going to be like 1990 something. This link may or may not work, and that may or may not be that theme. Don't know. It was just a guess. That's where I would have put it. But that was that Inspector Mom theme. Well, then I'll shut up if it works. Wow, it works. That's crazy. That was just a guess. That was just a guess. It was just a guess. That's where I would put it, and that's what I would call it. Know thyself. I think it's only a minute long anyway. Yeah, man. Mike, how big was the orchestra when we recorded the race? I mean, I count. I can tell you what my complement is. It's almost always the same. It's 16, 16, 12, 10, 8 in the strings, 4 horns. It's going to be 3 flutes, 1 doubling on piccolo, 2 oboes, 3 clarinets, 2 bassoons, a bass clarinet and a contra. Be 3 trumpets, 3 trombones, tuba, 1 or 2 pianos, 1 harp, and usually, usually between 4 and 5 percussionists, usually. So about that, whatever size group that is. That's just like, that's my typical complement or whatever. Hey, baby. How are you? How was that earthquake where you were?
You know what, not a big deal. How was it here?
We were on the air at the time. The whole fucking place, you'll see it. We were rocking and rolling here.
Because it was apparently a 7.1.
Yeah, it was.
So it's like 10 times
And it went on. That thing went on.
Forever.
I mean,
I was on the bottom floor of the pole dance studio in Hollywood,
Yeah.
West Hollywood, and it just went forever. It was a long, subtle. Somebody was like, I don't mean to freak anybody out, but I think there's.
Yeah,
I think there's
it almost crossed the point where I almost got, like, it got, yeah, but we were,
that's what I'm
I've
saying.
never seen this place move like that.
Yesterday, and I had that feeling because I was on the ground level and it was all rolly, so it was not a big deal.
Yeah.
But yesterday I was up here, and it was like,
Yeah.
is there a problem? And then it
Yeah.
stopped.
Yeah.
I had a good thing. So what's been going on? What did I miss?
No, we're just talking about whatever.
Stuff?
Yeah. If you get the class putting it all together, yeah, you get the score to the race, which also, I think that class, putting it all together, not only has the score, but also it's a bar-by-bar analysis of the choices that I was making compositionally and orchestrationally. I think the stems, the recording stems are with that too. Don't you get Sean Murphy's stems for that? Which again, if you're, again, I've said this a few times, through the weekend, I think that's 40% off sale on the master classes is still going, and the coupon is Glory40. So it means it's like $18. It's like 4 or 5 hours, so definitely. That's the closest I get to. Please like me and subscribe. I can't say those words. I can't do it. I can't ask people to please like me. I just can't do it. Yeah, that was a fun class. No, I think the stems are in I think they're in. I think the stems are in there. I don't know why I wouldn't have included them, so I'm pretty sure they're in there. Also, the focus score. Yeah, focus score. Yeah. How did you get used to working in the studio, working with others for the first time, basically in the engineer's chair, recording? What was it like? Well, I mean, when my very first big orchestral recording, I was birthed by fire. I was working for stuff. I was doing stuff for Warner Brothers, and they were like, we want this done with live orchestra, and I was just, okay. I was just so busy trying to get it done that it was just like, just nervous about it, that it was all falling back on your training. So there was really no learning curve about it. I was surrounded by professionals who all knew their jobs, and I'd done my job, and so everybody just did their job, and it came out great. So there was no real adjustment there. But I mean, working with people in general, I mean, that's a question about your personality and how personable you are and how pleasant you are to be around and friendly and engaging and all those things. And how do you do that? You do it. You work at it. Yeah. But otherwise, like I said, I also changed. I recorded a video that I didn't post. I haven't posted it yet, but it was a long discussion to you guys, to all creative professionals about changing the dynamic in which you work, and from working for people to giving people the opportunity to work with you. Something that took me a long time to learn, to realize that I had a choice. I was either part of a market and let a market decide what I was worth, or I acknowledged that I was a market of one because I have a unique product that nobody else has. And if that's the product that you want, I set the terms, all of them. And those terms will include what I'm getting paid, and that I will accept no input from clients. I fired all my clients. I don't have clients anymore. The only people who work with me are people who will pay me exactly what I want to get paid and have no input in my work whatsoever. And most of my life, as it is for creatives, that's considered some sort of fantasy pipe dream, but it's not. It's just you either accept less or not. And when I was younger and was hungry and needed money, I'll work for anybody and I'll do anything and I'll do what I'm told. But after 30 years, I realized, my work was never made better by corporate people sitting around making random decisions about my work to justify their jobs. So I got rid of them all. And now, unlike when I started in the business 30 years ago, you can go find a lifetime's worth of people who will buy your exact product, who want your exact product. They don't want anything else. Like actors. All I did was realize that I could enjoy the same privileges that all the other creatives did. That actors that people go to and they'll go and they'll say, we want you. We want just you. We don't want anybody else. And so, no, use this person. No. It's got to be you. And then that person can set their price because it's the one market and they value what they do. Composers are often treated, like so many creatives, like drone units, and it's like, well, if you don't do it, somebody else will. Okay, so it's not about you. It's not even about you. You're just a means to an end. You're a tool. You're a widget provider. And that, if you accept that, if we accept that, that's by choice. Because the truth is you actually do have a unique product. And so if somebody's already said to you, yeah, but your unique product doesn't matter to me. We're just looking for we're just looking for the widget at the best price. Well, then you can agree to that. And if you're hungry and you're starting out, maybe you got to agree to it because somebody's got to keep the fucking lights on. But at some point you realize that they've already started the relationship by saying that you are no of particular unique value. So you can't be surprised when they don't value you. You can't be surprised when they don't pay you what you're worth. They don't respect your opinion. They feel like they can tell you how to do their job. They'd never tell their brain surgeon how to do the fucking work. They don't even tell the plumber how to do their work. But, and so I changed my philosophy on it, that when you pay me, you're not paying me to tell me how to do my job. You're paying for a ticket to the show. When you pay a ticket to a concert, even if you pay for the high seats in the front row, you don't have the expectation that you get to tell Sting how to sing. You know what I mean? You don't get to tell fucking Penn and Teller how to do the magic show. You just get to be closer to it. That's all. And so that only happens. You can only have that kind of relationship with clients if you decide that. And I found that in the end, having that philosophy, I worked a tenth as much as I worked to, but I made about 10 times more money. So, but I also, it took me 30 years of a career and having a stable life before I was in a position to do that. But ultimately, it's a market of one. I don't bid on work at all anymore. I don't bid. I'll never bid on a job because if somebody's willing to take bids, they've already said, oh, any number of products will suffice. Okay, well, then you don't need my product. Mine is the one that, if somebody's looking for a sports car and you've got a Ferrari and they're like, well, why should I pay for your Ferrari? I can get this red Kia for $14,000. Yeah, but that's a fucking Kia. If that's look, if you don't care, definitely get the Kia. You can't. My thing's $140,000 and it's handmade. And then you don't need to pay that money for that. But then you got the people who go, I want your car, I want your Ferrari, and you go, okay, it's $140,000. They go, fine, I'll find it. It's got to be that. Okay, that's your client. You know what I mean? But like that whole idea was sort of considered a pipe dream at one point. And I came to realize that you don't get what you deserve, you get what you accept. And I just decided I don't want to hear anybody's opinions on my work anymore. I just don't want to hear it. It's not what you're paying for. You're paying for the privilege of working with me. It's just how I treat it now. And it turns out that's a way better gig. Way better. It's way better. You don't work as much, you make more money. And then you work in a situation with people who respect the shit out of what you do, and they go, just whatever you want to do, that's you. Doesn't that sound great? It is. It's fucking great. You have to just fucking balls out to do that. And I suppose in order to do that, you have to be worth it. That's the other thing. If you don't have a unique product, I guess you can't go into the market with your unique product and talk about how much it's worth. So that does sort of come back on you. But creatives are always talking about how powerless they are, and it's bitching about the clients. Well, clients. No, no. Will you let them tell you what to do? Well, then don't complain about it. You let them tell you what to do. They don't know. What the fuck do they know? I'm working on a book cover for a friend, and I submitted the book cover, and I said, that's it. That's the cover. That's it. Do you like it? She said, I love it. Okay, that's it. Well, I'll see what they're going to say. No, you can see. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. That's it. I don't need to do anything. It's good. It's done. I like it. I put my name on it. So there will be no revisions. I won't. And then they're not going to use it. Okay. What am I going to do? Change it and be angry? Fucking. I don't need that. Fuck that. Okay. Well, don't worry. I mean, you don't ever get that unless you decide that's just how it is. But at some point, I just think that for a life, for people who are creatives, what?
Does it matter where I go?
No.
Should I just I'm just gonna walk through.
That's fine.
My eggs.
Walk through your eggs. No, it's just a choice. I just realized that so much of the machine and the industries and the people, they just fuck up the fun about writing music, and. I did that for years. It's not like I didn't do that. It's not like I've always just been like, well, if you don't respect me. There's plenty of times I was just a whore like everybody else. I was fucking hungry. I needed money. What do you want? But after this point, fuck that. I fired all my clients. when I found out I could make way more money doing that, that would also made it easier. No. Well, I'm paying you. You're not paying me to tell me how to do my job. Here, take all your money. I don't want to do it. Well, it's my personal. I call bullshit on most stuff now. It's all bullshit to me, especially this industry. And, just douchebags justifying their position. I just decided I didn't need that anymore. So I actually work more now than I ever have, and it's way more profitable, and it's way more fun. I advise that. Just try that. Okay, that's great. Now we just want you to change all this stuff? Nah. Well, then they'll just go to somebody else. Yeah, some other douchebag. Some other who will let them fucking change all their shit and turn it into crap and then not get paid what they're worth and bitch about it. I've been on that train. I've done that. I rode that train around and around and around for decades. Fuck that. I didn't get anything for it. That's the bottom line. I thought about it, and I thought that in like almost 30 years, I could only think of 2 times that a client's suggestion made my work better, and both times they were ideas I'd already had and threw out for one reason or another. So I decided to fire all my clients. So if you use this work mentality of being unique and making people come to you, which it's true, that, by the way, we're acknowledging the truth. You are the only person who, if you write music from your life experience and you're in there, you are a market of one. This is not a philosophy. It's not even a mentality. It's just the truth. You're the only person in the world who can write the music you write. Nobody else can. Unless you write totally disposable crap that doesn't come from you because you don't have the craft to personally express yourself, in which case, yeah, I guess you're just gonna do whatever the market will bear. But then you're a fucking widget seller. And what was the point of becoming a creative if you're just going to be another fucking widget seller? Go into the widget business. You'll have a 401k and 5-day work weeks. Come on. But anyway, but if I remember this work mentality, how would you go on marketing yourself if you're starting out as a composer, being in our shoes? Well, I did this. And like I said, when you start out, you've got to do something just to I think there's stages. And for me, stage 1 was being able to figure out that I could make a living at it at all so that I was not going to starve, and learning the survival skills of handling clients and managing my frustrations and learning how to be diplomatic in the process. Those are useful skills no matter what. So I think that's an important thing. But I think we tend to lose ourselves in that world and become that, realizing that should really just be a season. There should be a season in which the way it worked for me was, well, I worked with people, and when I was young, I would do things for way too cheap, and I would spend way too much time on them, and I would be way too grateful for fucking pittance, and I would do all that, and I would put myself in bad situations in which I was taken advantage of, and I believed that what I'll do is I'll take care of this client, and then he'll take care of me, and it doesn't work that way. What would happen is I would just set the expectation for what the relationship was. So the client would hire me, and then they would say, okay, well, we're going to have you do all this stuff and do all this stuff and do all this stuff, and here's your penny for it. And then you go, great, and you really take care of them. And in your mind, you think, well, then, this will be great. And then in the end, they go, we got another job for you, and you go, great. And they go, so it'll be same thing, same penny. And you're like, well, the last one I kind of did is a penny. I mean, it was the first time. I mean, it was a lot of work, though. If it's going to be the same thing, I think it's got to be 2 pennies. And they'll be like, well, I don't understand. It was 1 penny. I mean, they bitch and cry. Okay, well, the ones that'll ultimately be the clients go, all right, well, 2 pennies then. And then at some point they go, we got another 2-penny job, and you go, it's $1 now. And they go, what? $1? And you go, look, I'm really great. I've taken care of you 3 times in a row. It's $1. I mean, this is ridiculous. I'm still living in a 1-bedroom studio apartment, and I'm still worried about my fucking lights being turned on. I need $1. If I have $1, then I don't actually have to worry about eating this week. That's all I'm asking for. I'm not even for 10, just $1. And the good clients will go, all right, here's $1. And the bad clients will go, oh, fuck you, I can get another guy, still do it for 2 pennies. And you walk away and you get a client who will pay $1. And then you work with that client and you wait for that client one day. He says, you've been with me 5 years, 10 years. You've always taken care of me. I've decided to pay you $2 in the next one. But that never happens. You have to go, I'll take $2. And the client will go, oh, okay. And that's the only way. Until you say no, until you demand more, you don't make more. And that's just how it goes. Then at some point, as you move on, at some point you go, you know what, I'll tell you what, this is exactly what it is, and I don't want to hear from you about anything. And half the people in the industry have no talent or abilities, which is why they're in the industry. They're executives and middle managements and job justifiers. And so they literally, you can't even fault them. What the fuck are they going to do? If they leave the work, they're not necessary. They're useless. They don't need them. See, when you can do something, people need you. But when you can't do anything, you have to try to make people think they need you. That's a way worse situation to be in, but that's the majority. Hollywood could burn to the ground. I I don't want to jinx my good luck. But Hollywood could burn to the ground. I could still write music and make movies. I don't need any of this. It's like, I even have my own facilities. I could make a fucking Avengers movie in my fucking house. I don't need any of this. So I don't need any of those people. And neither do you. You can write music. You can do things. There's a whole world of people who need what you need to do. So if you decide to deliberately inject people into your life to tell you what to do, just have a good reason for it and realize it'll only stop when you've gotten tired of it. And you don't have to feel bad if you're starting out and you're fucking hungry, you need to do whatever. I mean, we've all got that story. I was young and I needed the money. Okay, I get it. But understand that the money will never change and your circumstances will never change until you decide it and demand on it. Nobody's ever going to give it to you. It never works that way. It never works that way. It takes a while to learn that, and you have to be in a certain position. But at some point you realize, you just got to call bullshit on the bullshit. Otherwise, you lose your right to complain about it, and I like to complain. So, so at some point I just realized, there's way too many people who seem to enjoy this other situation in which they seem to have say over the conditions under which they work, and they're not always bitching. What are you going to do? What you're going to do is not take it. How about that? And when fear and capitulation and surrender, are the foundational principles of your creative life, how's that good? Well, I'm just powerless. I'm so easily replaced. I have no real value. Oh, Christ, get out. That sounds miserable. It's a miserable way to do it. Have everybody take all the fun out of your life. I mean, it's supposed to be a fun life. It's supposed to be. It's going to come with plenty of stress. You're not going to have any job security. You never retire. You're working forever, unless that's your goal to retire. It's not mine. But, and so you might as well do it where it's like, just find the people. You can find them now. It wasn't always true. You can find your people now. Yes, whatever you want. Just whatever. Name your price. Those people are there. How many do you need? How many of those do you need? Not that many. You don't need that many. Working a few months a year or a few weeks or 365 days if you want to, but it's a choice. You can do that. I don't know if it's possible unless you have a product that you can look at somebody in the eye and go, yeah, this is, I'm going to tell you how it's going to be. I think you have to internally believe in your product in order to do that, and I don't think you get that without earning it. But I'm just saying that's not only an attainable goal, but a way better one than just taking what they give you. And yes, sir, may I have another? We don't pay composers. We pay composers $3,000 for the feature, and they get 2 weeks to do it. That's just what we pay. Fucking composer stays home, you could leave the lens cap on. Just try Star Wars without the music. And I got to act like you're doing me a favor? You giving me fucking pittance? How much you pay your lead guy? $23 million? Well, we can't afford a live orchestra. I can't afford to spend another 5 seconds with you devaluing douchebags. You walk out. That's an option. It works too, but how do you know how to ask for? I have a whole class on this, the business. I think I've even gotten free podcasts on this. The answer is however much you want. You set I don't know, you tell me. You come up with your own formula. Your number is your number. There's no wrong number. It's your number. You look at it and you go, this is going to take me 3 hours. All my bills are caught up. I like this guy. We're going to be drinking buddies. I'll do him a favor. I'll do it for $100. Or maybe you go, you know what? This is fucking Heineken. They're going to run the shit out of this ad, and I'm never going to get the fucking things on the other side of it. So I want $10,000 for 10 seconds. That's what I want. I'll feel good at the end of that $10,000. Or, maybe you work with them once, you're like, oh, those fuckers, they make me rewrite that thing 300,000 times. I'm $3 million to do your commercial. Maybe they'll pay it. Then it's whatever the number is that at the end of it, you feel like it was worth the number. You got your bills paid or whatever, your creature comforts. I don't know how much you want. Money's different to different people. But you just pick your number and then insist on it and be worth it. And then that's it. Like I said, it doesn't work on me to tell me somebody else will do it cheaper. Oh, that's the cheap guy. Yeah, I'm the other guy. I'm not the cheap guy. I'm not the bargain guy. I know some bargain guys. You want me to get you a bargain guy? I can get you a bargain guy. I know the bargain guys. Go get your bargain guy. You can say that right to producers, and they'll pay you. There's no shortage of producers. That's the call. Oh, like a bargain guy you're looking for? No, he's good, but he's cheap? Yeah, like all those good, cheap things in the world. Those really good, cheap cars. Yeah, I'm not the Toyota of composers, no. I'm like one of them. What are those? I'm a McLaren. You only make a few of them. Only a few people get it, and it's expensive as shit. Try that one. But yeah, your number is your number. Maybe it's different some days. I do some jobs that I'll work on. They're cash cow jobs. I'm getting paid offensive amounts of money for relative to the gig, and then I can take somebody else whose work, they really don't have the money, and they're great people with a great project, and I want to work with them. I go, don't worry, I'll take care of you. I've only got this. I swear I've got it. I know. Lucky for you, Disney's paying for me to do this film. Let's do it. And then you have the freedom to do that, but that's up to you. We are masters of our day. You can take advice, but at the end of the day, it's up to you. Of course, absolutely. Mike just got a film that will be the first one I composed with a live orchestra. Do you have any advice? Man, you will learn more in the advice. No, good luck. To do your best. Surround yourself with good people to the degree that you can. Don't be afraid to ask for help, but also just realize you're going to come out of that process. You're going to learn more in that process than like in 10 years of study. I mean, that's just the best. I mean, that's the best. A million things will go down that and the wisdom that you will acquire in the experience is just absolutely priceless. Absolutely priceless. It's fantastic. You'll make all kinds of mistakes. If you continue in your journey and you continue to get better, you'll be humiliated by every note of it at some point, and that's part of the life too. So just do your best so that it is representative to the furthest degree that you can of where you really were at this stage in your life. Try to do as much of it as you can. Make sure your client is happy. Make sure the work is good, but try to do as much as you can versus like turning the whole thing over to other people, just so that it becomes a time capsule for where you personally were in your journey and it's representative of that one unique market that you are. That's my advice. Speaking of Disney, I am on the Disney Now app on Roku Express watching a new episode of Disney Channel's Andy Mack. Okay. I bet there's more to that story. But yeah, I mean, like I said, live orchestra, great. First film, great. I mean, if you're doing it right, you will have tons of moments that you're so proud of, and then you'll have moments and you'll be like, why isn't that? It never came out the way I heard it in my head. No, but maybe 10 scores from now it will. I mean, I did one, I did this one class, Better Main Title, it's called. And it's about how I would write a main title that I wrote for this film in 2004, I think. It's called Forbidden Warrior. And the main title that I wrote and the way it was recorded, it was a big orchestra. It's fine, perfectly fine. I don't have a problem with it. Everybody liked it, But, 15 years later, I listened to it and I'm like, no, that's not that's not right. No, that's not what he meant. It's like I've learned a lot. 15 years, a while, at the rate of intense study. So I did a master class in which I fixed it. That's how I would write it today. It's the same tune, but it's better, way better. It's a way better orchestra, way better. And it's like I know what the guy meant. I know what he meant. He just didn't quite know how to get it out the same way. Today I know more how to get it out, so it's different. That happens. And that's me on a piece that was 15 years ago, but that wasn't that long, really. It's not like when I was 5. I was working professionally then. I'm working professionally now, but I looked at it now. And it's like, no. So that'll happen no matter what, and that's part of it. You should play some Forbidden Warrior score, I'm not, again, I don't, when I hear Forbidden Warrior, I hear the entire score is exactly like the main title. Like, no. Well, I know I just feel bad for the guy because I know what he was trying to do. And there's a couple of times he got it, and more often than not, they're like, yeah, you're in the, but actually the real way to do it is this. That's how I hear the whole score. So, you know what I mean? Because I could rewrite the whole score today, it'd be the identical score, but it would all be like a whole other thing. Because I've learned stuff. You just learned it. There's no artist for whom that's not true about every aspect of writing. People like that score. The filmmakers liked that score, and at the time, I was okay with it. Like I was okay with oh, there you go, that got the job done. Today I hear it like a lot of obvious mistakes. I would sort of be afraid if that wasn't the case. What if that meant that would be bad? You know what I mean? That I learned really nothing in 15 years. Yeah, that would not be good. John Williams disaster film scores, Earthquake. Yeah, I mean, that guy can write. Chops. Just chops, man. Anyway, this was just a sort of impromptu little gathering here on a Friday night, and appreciate you guys hanging out with me. I think I'm gonna go wrap it up here. There's still some Friday night left, and again, just one more time, letting anybody knows. I mean, a lot of people. This seems to be one of the bigger times of the year that people take advantage of the class sales. I don't know what it is. Something about July. People seem to load up a lot on the classes, and then they have, I guess, until Unleashed to learn stuff, because we're going to do Unleashed again, another Christmas. I think we didn't make it a Christmas this last year. I think we actually crossed into January or something before we did it, but we're going to try to do it at Christmas, because that's a good thing to do. When you can take the composition classes, you can practice those things, and then bring your piece to Unleashed and see how you did, live on the air when we do those marathon critique sections, which I actually really, I like doing them. I think those are fun. But actually, one of my favorite things is to see the way in which we all struggle with the exact same stuff. All of us. It's always the basics too, man. We're never Unleashed classes. We're never looking at the pieces, and we're never like into the fine little minutia of composing. We're usually right down at the basics of melodic writing and structure. I think you need to charging $40K a semester. Like I said, people say all the time, that my classes are so cheap, they're way undervalued. And I'm like, no, they're broke-ass musician prices, because I don't believe it should cost all that fucking money to get this information. I don't like the idea of starting. Life is hard enough as a creative without starting you off with a bunch of fucking debt. And that just to learn how to do it, especially if you really want, because my classes are for people who actually want to get better. They will get better if they do all the shit in the classes, guaranteed. But you have to do a lot of work. So it's sort of a self-selecting set, because nobody's taking my classes unless they really legitimately want to level up. They're not taking it in the first place. So people who have a natural desire and have come to the table and said, look, I want to learn. I will work hard. I really want to be better. I don't think you should get oh yeah, well here, kid, bam, give me $300. Fuck you. I think that's taking advantage of people, kicking them when they're down, and I couldn't have afforded it. And I would have been all over those fucking classes when I was 19, 18 years old. I've been all over them, and I couldn't have afforded it. $30 I could probably scrape together, and it would be worth it. That's why I make sure they're long. They're long classes, hours and hours and hours for $30. Broke-ass musicians can scrape that together, and then they get access to stuff that no university would ever allow them to have. First of all, they don't have them at universities. You can't even learn that shit at university, and university puts you in debt for the next 60 years of your life. Fuck them. So I make them cheap I just assume put all the schools out of business just on money alone. Yeah, I'll teach everything that you don't teach, everything you teach, plus everything you don't teach, and I'll give it away. How about that? Because I think they take advantage of people. I don't like that. So that's just, that's a pay it forward thing. You know what I mean? I think that's, I just think that's an important thing to do. And, there's just enough material costs behind them. There's just enough cost in Vimeo and in Ustream and in the equipment and the fucking drives and the post-production. There's just enough money that they can't be free. But they're as cheap as I can make them. And then every once in a while we do the fucking, sales, and then they're like, you got to put good, it all works out. And when people take the classes and their work gets better, it's like, good. That's what they're for. Learn. You just use them. All I ask is that people, use them. And then if you learn something, you let me know, and let other people know you learned something, because we have a community ultimately to build. A community of people who are trying desperately to recover the skill levels of our great-grandfathers, who could mop the floor with us. But their world is gone, and all of their expertise and mastery is gone with them. And we can't apprentice with them anymore. So we have to rebuild our own little community, our own little world where we build each other up, and we set our own bars and our own standards. And that's got to be made up of people with skills who are increasing their skills and are learning from other people's skills. That's how the masters learned. We have to build our own little community and world like that. And so, that's the closest that I get to saying to people, spread the word. The truth is, if you've leveled up, spread the word to any composer that you know that wants to level up too, because we actually need them. There have to be more of us helping each other. Me too, everybody. You know what I mean? So if you get something out of them, join Red Band, join the forum, post your stuff. Let's rebuild a community out of people who are all, trying to improve and have more control over their life and recover as much as possible of the dream that should be writing music for a living. It's supposed to be, So somebody just said, "Hi, Mike, glad I caught the stream. Random question: what do you think of the Potter scores?" I mean, I dig them. They're very different, than earlier scores. But his scores, his writing continues to get so much more efficient. He's so much more efficient in his motivic delivery and even his orchestrational sensibilities. His music's changed a lot, but it's getting leaner and meaner, less showy. But actually, it's like a diamond. It's like a lump of coal that's just compressing into a diamond. There's just no wasted anything. So I really, dig I dig a lot about them. I haven't seen any of the films. I worked on the first one. And after a year of working on that in a corporate environment, you don't want to have anything to do with it anymore. But I remember when the DAT tape came, and I was working on the trailers and all the advanced release materials for it at the time. My company was doing all the marketing for it, or at least working with Warner Brothers and doing the marketing for it. And so the tape came directly from the recording studio. I had one of the first DATs of the Hedwig thing, whatever the theme. And I put the DAT tape on, and I was just like, man, he nailed it. Nailed the sound, like just immediately nailed it. I was just like, that's it. Like, what a great set of harmonic ideas there. So, what if you were in music school, but then realized it won't benefit you? Get the fuck out. It's okay, get out. What if you're in a club and it turns out you're the hottest club in town, and it's a fucking sausage fest and it's lame? You stay around because you paid the cover charge? Fuck out. It's only 11. Get out. Go to another place. Get the fuck out. I agree. I think they're some of the best of his career. If only he had stayed on for the home field series. I don't know, man. They're milking all that stuff. How much can you do? Plus, again, those films aren't made the same way that he's not utilized in the best way any more than he is for the Star Wars films. They're not locked films for him to do all his weaving and stuff. They're basically music edited out of individual clips. He can still write good clips, but that's not what makes Williams. It's the long form, connected stuff, and they don't make films like that, so he can't even do what he does best. But the ideas themselves are really, really good. But then if you heard the little piece that he wrote for the Star Wars land, the Galaxy's Edge, the thing, he wrote this little Star Wars thing it's like there's nothing in it. It's like he just had not one more thing to say about it. Like I think he weathered one. I think there's one interesting modulation in it that is like, well, that was cool, and everything else is just like, it's like a horse that's just been beaten. It's just not even conscious anymore. It's dying of shock. It's sad. It's bereft. And plus, I just feel like, leave the man alone. Like, how much more does he have to fucking do? Like, how? But anyway, just like the original Superman. I mean, he was in the fucking pocket. He's doing Jaws, and Star Wars, and Superman, and Indiana Jones, and E.T. He was just fucking in the pocket. He was in there. We've all got seasons. That was his fucking season. Everything he touched, he was just on. I love Space Camp, for fuck's sake. Loved all that shit. It wasn't until I don't remember what the first John Williams score after all that I heard that I was just like, huh? I think it was 7 Years in Tibet. I think I was like, the fuck? Whatever. John's latest Star Wars music, he sounds pretty tired. He is tired and done with it. The films are tired and done with it. They're not even Star Wars films. They're Star Wars. They're not Star Wars films. They're not going anywhere. They're nothing. They ran that thing into the ground real quick. I mean, that's not like a fucking surprise. this multinational, conglomerate. Come on. Whatever. I don't like the way the stormtrooper in the background is looking at me. Oh, that one? Yeah. I got so many of them around here, I don't even see them anymore. You know. We have Star Wars all over the place. There's all Star Wars in here. Other things too, but a lot of Star Wars. So that I remember that music can change a person's life if you do a good job on it. John Williams' music changed my life. I don't give a fuck about Star Wars. I don't care about Star Wars. I don't care about Rebels, you know, and Imperials. I don't care about any of that shit. I care about matte painters and model makers and John Williams compositions. You know what I mean? I care about the people who made the film and the fact that a film can change a person's life. So Star Wars is an important film to me because it changed my life. But I don't actually care about Star Wars. Why won't he call it quits? Because this is what he does, man. What else is he going to do? He plays golf every day. Yeah, Lucasfilms, Disney presents Solo, a Star Wars story. Or something, right? Trademark, yeah. But this is Williams, this is what he does, you know. And plus, he's a little bit proprietary about Star Wars in some ways. But I mean, even the man, you know. He plays every day, man. He likes to play golf, and he's a real laid-back dude. And his contribution to film music and the lexicon of American music is indelible and worth celebrating. And you know, I personally owe his work a lot, you know. But I think his best days are behind him. And I think that fate awaits us all. But more to the point, I just feel like he's got nothing else to prove. Like, how many of these fucking amazing scores does a man have to do in his life? Who do you think will compose the next trilogy of Star Wars films? I don't know. What's the name of that program, that composing program? Just give it to that. Just put in the themes, and it'll just play that. And everybody will and all the 40-year-old guys will masturbate at all the intertextual references, and then that'll be it. That'll be it. Who gives a fuck? You're not getting a cue like the fucking Battle of Yavin. You're not getting that. That's not ever coming again. You're not going to hear fucking Asteroid Field. These films are these cues that are just fucking, the ones that my little boy sings end to end every note of as he's playing with little TIE Fighter toys. Those are fucking magical things of mastery. Those aren't coming. The films don't even have them, those things in them. You're not hearing that, so who gives a fuck? You know what I mean? I see you're doing kind of a blues jazz playlist. How do you feel about jazz, funk, as opposed to classical film scores? Well, I mean, you know, whatever suits the thing. I think you have to be able to do both. I've studied classical music all the time, and I studied a ton of jazz. I play live all the time, so I play all kinds of stuff. I mean, if I'm just noodling, it tends to be a lot of jazz stuff, just because voicings-wise are much more interesting to me. But you know, I mean, that's just a vocabulary choice. You know, when I play for fun, and blues and funk stuff is more fun to play for me. You know, you know, it's just me. You know, I mean, whoever will do them is who they're going to do them, and the films will be forgettable, and the scores will at best be competent, I guess, maybe, but you're not getting it. I mean, they don't make the Star Wars films, so you're not getting it. This is a non-issue. Yeah. Gordy has done an unenviable job of you know, trying to do service to stuff in contexts that also don't, you know what I mean? Like, they're not like those video game cutscene stuff does not represent the field on which you perform or write Star Wars cues. So he's got to, like, you know, I mean, a lot of them are extensions of existing cues, which is even the worst. Like they'll take one and just go, now add 5 more bars like that. I mean, it's a rough gig. I wouldn't want that gig. But then again, if you got offered that gig, you'd have to take that gig. But anyway, I thought you did a good job. I think that's it, right? I think we're wrapped, right? Pretty much. Where should I start learning? To play piano as you do now? I mean, private teacher is a perfectly good way. In fact, to learn piano, a private teacher for sure. You know, and you know, my playing is, like I said, I started with 6 years of classical training. Then I went to jazz piano, and you know, and I don't have, these aren't piano fingers. They're real short. These are small. I'm a bruiser. A rock and roll bruiser is where my hands are happiest. You know, I was a session player for many years. I could get it done in the session. I could play stuff, and do it on cue, and I could improvise stuff. But I chops wise, as soon as I met Mike Lang and Brian Petzone and you know, I mean, it's like Ralph Grierson. I was like, okay, that's a piano player, and I am not. You know, which is why I appreciate what. Yeah, session players do it on cue. I just realized that there were players who were masterful players. But being the writer and composer, I could write for everybody. So, but to compose, you only got to be, you know, if you can't get it through a run, you just sort of go, you know, but then more like that. And you just write, and then they play it, and then they can worry about it. But, you know, I grew up playing in rock bands and shit, and lots of like jazz fusion on stuff. Like I said, somebody mentioned chicory. I used to play all that chick stuff. You know, you have to be able to play, but it's you know, I'm not. I can't imagine how long it would take me to bang out some Rachmaninoff. I don't think I could. I don't think my hands are big enough. I don't think I can even reach it. That's a stretch. That's as far as that hand can do. That's a rough one. I couldn't do that cleanly. Mike, how many days did you? 4. So I mean, but again, but playing as a player there's a different burden on your hands. But definitely study with a private teacher and let them correct your things from the beginning. You know, this is my little boy. It's just right the basics. Relax, get your thumb up, get your hands up, round your fingers, relax your wrists. You know, his little brain still doesn't know how to have strength. Without his whole arm, he doesn't. This like got to put it in there. Oh, how many days it took you to record your films with an orchestra in the studio? Well, like Forbidden Warrior was, I think it was 7 days of doubles, 7 doubles, I think. Depends on the total amounts of music. They're only allowed to do so many minutes a day. Do you think the video game scores of the early 2000s with the incorporation of real orchestras had an effect on the industry? I don't know. An effect? I don't know that. I don't know. I don't know. You know, from 40,000 feet, the average level of music has only been going down. The skill, the objectively quantifiable measure of skill has only been going down. I mean, I can tell you that teaching this shit for the last 6 years, generally speaking, the bar is going down and down and down and down. The bar's not going up. The bar's going down. Continues to do that. It tends to get increasingly reductive and more homogenized, and it becomes more of a parody of itself. I mean, that's just objectively true. Whether that's good or not is really a matter of where you're sitting on that whole thing, because it's certainly allowing a lot of other people who would normally just be pretending to be composers are now working composers, and they're very happy about that. And like I said, there's not an outcry, an outpouring of discontent among the people. Like, what's with film scores these days? I expect more from my film scores. There's not. This is not happening. So, like I said. That's why I seek clients who do feel that way. Those are my clients, the ones who are like, what's all this bullshit garbage music? Okay, I know where you're coming from. You know, I have in the time, like, again, things people who've taken the master classes have heard me talk about this, but I very much came to realize that one of the important defining characteristics of music, for things to fall in the category of music for me, is something I call transportability, which is this thing that I realized existed in all music that I grew up listening to, and in very little music that exists now. An example I gave, I think, in chord voicing was that "Happy Birthday" is a transportable song. You only ever learn it by somebody singing it to you, and then you learn it. They teach it to you by singing it, and now you can sing it, and you can carry it around with you. It's transportable. You can sing "Happy Birthday" to you, and go over here and sing "Happy Birthday" to you. Oh, he's having a birthday. Happy birthday to you. And you've never heard like the Happy Birthday. You never heard like the recording of it, the real one. You only ever learned it because somebody gave you. They gave you the music, and now you have it, and you can carry it around with you. You can sing it in the shower. You can sing it at a happy birthday song, or at a birthday party. You can carry it around with you. It's music. It's like the Star Wars theme. You can hear it. You can carry it around with you. You can sing it. You can give it to somebody. Carry it around, give it. You can whistle it. You can sing it, even if it's an approximation. And all the music that I grew up listening to, all of it, whether it was operas, arias, commercials, if you get people my age together and just sit around, we could sing just the commercials from television that we remember for an hour straight. Add TV show themes, and we could all sing them and remember them. They're still with us. They're still part of us. We can sing them. We can relive them. So much music today now, people say, I love the music. You go, how does it go? And they go, oh, I can't sing it. I can't. You would just have to hear it. It's not transportable. It's not part of them. It's like a distant, abstract memory that they remember liking, but they can't relive it. They can't express it. They can't give it to anybody. It's not transportable. And so for me, just personally, that became something that I've increasingly put in the category of, well, then it's not music. Music has to have that quality. It's not necessarily fair. There's a lot of music that you could say was music and doesn't have that quality, but that's just a perfectly good working definition for me, is that if you can't internalize it, if it can't become part of the fabric of who you are, then something that at least was always a given in the definition of music has changed. And you may really like it, and I might really enjoy it, but then I wouldn't necessarily call it music. It's something else, and that's not even a lesser or more or better or worse. It's just something different. That's just me, though. Yeah. So I mean, to me, this is as an artist, it is. It would devastate me to have people just completely forget my work and not be able to express it or recapture it, or say, to say, oh, I love his music, and somebody, how does it go? And have people say, well, I mean, you can't sing it. I mean, you can't. You just would have to hear it. That would kill me. You can't sing any of it? No, I can't. It's just, I mean, it goes like, but it's awesome. It's like, and then this thing goes, or something like that, or something. It's really loud. I love it. That would kill me to hear somebody talk about my music like that. That's just me. Do I work with an orchestrator, or do you do everything yourself? When I work with an orchestrator, it's a practical concern, and an orchestrator is not allowed to orchestrate my music. They're essentially copying, because I'm very, very specific about every last detail of the orchestration and the voicing. Occasionally they'll say, you missed a doubling here, and I know that's what you want to do. Should I put it in? Yes. But otherwise, an orchestrator who changed a single fucking note without my approval would get fired on the spot. And they know that, because I don't need an orchestrator. I need somebody to orchestrate this cue as I have already laid it out on the paper, because I don't have time. So, which is not to undermine the value of orchestrators. It's just that I'm very, very, very particular. And I've yet to make an orchestrator who, said, I can do a better job. I know what you're going for, but I got a better version of it. I would love that. That was Williams's Herbert Spencer. Williams' music never sounded as good, ever. Still this day is when Herbert Spencer was the orchestrator. Because Herbert Spencer did exactly that. Oh, I see what you got. And he would do a slightly better version of it. In fact, sometimes a remarkably better version of it. So I just haven't found that person, but I'm just so particular. So I don't use an orchestrator in that capacity. But I do use them when it, because there's only so much fucking time. Um, But yeah, I mean, being able to blend, like I said, you got to stay abreast of what's going on, and you have to know what's going on. And if there's ways to incorporate what's going on in your era, then that's important too. I mean, those are again survival skills, working survival skills. Um, um, yeah. In general, I mean, just in general, there's, it's supposed to be that in a world where we're creatives and we do this professionally, there's supposed to be an infinite number of ways to do it, as there are infinite number of ideas and philosophies and all that. But there are definitely, some core skills to have, and there are some core philosophies, I think, to embrace in order to just to ensure the greatest possibility of a long-term career, and not getting through the gig, but getting through the next 50, 60, 70, 30, whatever years of your life. The long road, I think, is hard to I don't think you could be doing this at 80 without chops, without real chops. Like I said, there's a lot of composers working today who are working today, and when the epic thing ends, that's over for them. It's over. They literally can't do anything else. They're not even doing it in the first place. You don't have to do anything. They're just capitalizing on the fact that, they had a connection and bought a library. And when that dries up, and it will, because all things change. If it changes into something that's not somehow stupider, which it probably will, but if it doesn't, then they're fucked, because they're not really musicians. They're not really composers. They're not. You know what I mean? And I feel terrible about that, because I know what that's going to be like. It happens, It happens. And so that's why I advocate control. Like, I don't care what you do with it, but at least this way, give yourself a shot, so when this fucking music stops, you're not left without a chair. And I just know that there's no shortcut for that. It's a lot of study. But then also it means you have something to do for the rest of your life. You'll never be a master of it. There'll always be another challenge. You'll always, have raw material to draw from if you live an interesting life and challenge yourself. So, great. Do you think symphonic tours can ever make a comeback to the way they did in the late 70s? In the late 70s, when they came back, there were still people who had the skills and the chops from the 50s and 60s ready to do it. Today, if they decided they wanted films like Jerry Goldsmith and John Williams, they got nobody with the skills to do it. So, no, it's not coming back. Now, if there's some sort of amazing, renaissance in skill, and we all just steep ourselves and decide we're going to rediscover how the Vikings made those fucking boats, and we're all going to make Viking boats again. It's going to take us a while to rediscover all those lost skills, but until we have all those skills, Viking boats ain't making a comeback. You know what I'm saying? So, it's like, if they want it, it's too late. It's like, who are you going to get to do it? You know what I mean? Goldsmith's dead. Horner's dead. Williams not going to be with us very much longer. We need the directors who appreciate it. Well, that's the point. You wouldn't. This part of his question would not only directors who would appreciate it, but then directors who have something to say. But they don't make films the way it's a. I would not hold your breath. Would be the. However, there are films being made right now that do that. They're not right here in Hollywood. They're not mega blockbusters that make $1 billion and then just vaporize, and they're just toy commercials. They're not being made here, but they are being made. You have to go find them and the people who do them. But there's not a comeback. They never left. The films that I have a whole bunch of films I'm going to make, and they're all like that. They're all like 80s films. And there's people who will buy them because they're still. They don't want that sound, but plenty of people do. Millions of people. 8 billion fucking people on the planet. 8 billion. That's twice what there was. More than twice when I was born. I wonder you can't find a fucking parking space. swing back around eventually. I mean, historically, things don't come back that require skills that are forgotten. It just doesn't happen. It's just not happened, but it could. You know what I mean? Like nobody's building pyramids anymore, in case you hadn't noticed. They're just, I mean. But where do you find those films? You take the interconnectivity of all human beings on the planet, unlike any other period in history, and you go find them. You find them in forums. You find them in the places where those sorts of artistic sensibilities and aesthetic sensibilities are being cultivated. I mean, they're just not conveniently arranged for you in a 12-square city block area like in Hollywood anymore. But they're out there, and all of humanity is connected. So there's no one path to find them. There's no magic way to do them. But if you're going to spend time, that's what I personally recommend doing. That's what I've done. And my clients are all over the world. My friends are all over the world. A party for me would include very few people from the United States. They don't have to fly in from other countries. My best friends are from all over the world because that's how it is now. Those are the people that that's my community. So that's true for your clients too. You got to go find them. What was the last score you heard, Mike, that you really liked? I don't know. I can't even think of one. Like where I was like, God damn, I can't remember. And that's my threshold too. Like, holy shit, that's fucking great. I can't remember the last time. I really can't. That's not. I can't. But like I said, my bar is, in the house here, like what my son is growing up listening to most of the time, it's all like the fucking the top shit. It's all the top shit. The fucking bar is stupid high in the house. So it's hard for me to, you know what I mean? Because all that comes to mind are these scores from the glory days, basically, And we check in and listen to stuff that's modern and all that, but it's like, man, that's cool. But that's not as much as you get from it. I don't know. I'm sorry, but I really can't even think. I can't even imagine what that was. I can't remember the last score that I was just like, God, geez. I remember there was moments in some recent films, like there's some cues in Lincoln and in War Horse that I was like, yeah, nice. I remember that. But neither of those scores were just hold on, like it used to be. Like, hold on, everybody, fuck off. I'm listening to Williams' score end to end right now. I do not be bothered. I don't remember last time that was the case even. But I also know that, like if there's some great thing, the musicians all talk about it. All the session players, all the studio guys all talk about it. You got to hear this. That hasn't happened in a long time. But that's just about your threshold. You know what I mean? If in a given week, your movies that you watched were like, Jaws, and Jurassic Park, and Star Trek 2, and the original Ghostbusters. This is what you watched that week. Maybe 12 Angry Men to throw one of those in, and you're like The Godfather. You know what I mean? And they're like, hey, have you seen Avengers? You're like, that's not even a movie. It's like that doesn't even count. Like it's not even. Like everything about it is you can freeze people in their tracks at the opening shot of The Godfather. They could be in the middle of fucking and they just have to stop. Meanwhile, Avengers, you gotta get people off their phone. Nah, it doesn't matter. Like what the fuck? It's not even a movie. Yeah, name me one line of dialogue from the Avengers. I don't know it. I can do about half of Scarface. Me and my friends can do about half of Scarface, half of The Godfather. Listen to some James Newton Howard. James Newton is so great. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of James Newton Howard because he's a craftsman. He's a worker. He can do so much stuff. A nice guy too. I mixed one of my scores at his place. Down here in Santa Monica, I did the score. It was I think it was Ultra Galaxy Legends. I think we mixed that as plays. So I talked to him for a long time, and super cool guy, he's just like he can do it. He's got chops, and I like him. I like his work. I don't listen to it a ton, but I'm always like, there you go. That's like, he got it done, man. I like him. Desplat, I think he's graded on the curve, is what I think about, it's like, I don't own any Desplat scores. I don't, but I've heard a few things and be like, well, yeah, on the curve. It's pretty good. But again, that's just, that just depends on what you listen to. If you eat fucking organic gourmet food cooked for you by a personal chef every day, it's going to be hard to go pretty much anywhere else. It's just going to happen. I mean, you might be a perfectly good rrestaurant, and they're like, this is one of the best restaurants around. Everybody loves this place. I understand. It's probably really fine, but you have to understand that's what happens. That's just what happens. I mean, I don't know. And like I said, in the house, we're not connected to the world, and we don't have television, we don't watch news, none of that stuff, because you don't have to. You still get all the news even when you don't want to. So with the input stream in the Verita household is all like brilliant thinkers, brilliant speakers, brilliant composers, masters of their craft across all scientists, philosophers, debaters, musicians, artists, poets, cinematographers. Everything that we look at and see and are surrounded by are people at the absolute pinnacle of what they do, because you get like the people that you're with, and we like creating an environment in which we're all the time truly in awe of people who are awesome, and so that just changes your perspective on the world, and it does. And if you then go out and you visit, you're like, oh my god, this is all fucking dog shit. What happened? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's how it looks. What are you going to do about it? I don't know. I don't know what you I don't know what you do about that. But except that it ruins your ability to, it's very hard to get in a space and we're like, no, it's good. It's just hard. I don't know. It's hard. I've seen some of your old videos on sample library reviews and the techniques of composing with MIDI velocity realisms. Cool. Yeah. Do you think Silvestri doesn't care anymore? His scores sound all the same. I think he's in an impossible situation because, like I said, the things he's best at, they don't make the films that utilize what he would do. And, and I mean, like I said, I feel like he must be working on principle. I mean, I don't know. I watched Back to the Future today, right? Yeah. I forgot how great the introduction to the characters were. You told so much about characters before they even really speak. Of course, yeah. Well, it's just filmmaking 101. But they don't even, films do not pass the 101. Like, it's like nobody ever saw film. I talk about it in my Film 101 class, Film School 101. And that's the thing, But it's just like when you go outside, outside, and all these billboards by major corporations, there's just basic spelling and grammar errors on them. And you're just like, what the fuck is going on? Like, how did that get through? It doesn't even make sense. How does that get through? That corporation's got $1 billion. There's not one person with a third grade education in the entire, they must have millions and millions of dollars in that campaign. There's not one person. It's like that's how it is mostly out there. It's all idiocracy. So, what are you gonna do about that? Like, just make sure you can spell. That's all you can do. Make sure you can spell. We walk through Los Angeles. My son and I take a 2.5 mile walk every morning. And my son just looks at all the signs and that's his English class. He's like, Dad, that's wrong. I know. Dad, that's wrong. I know. He's 8, but he's not I don't know why. It's like, Dad, how's that? I don't know. That's just the world. Don't worry about it. But you're right. It shouldn't be gate open outward. It should be gate opens outward. Yes. Yeah. Yes, you're right. Yes, they made the sign like that. Somebody wrote it and didn't know it was wrong, and then they gave it to the sign guy whose job is to make the sign, and he either didn't know it or didn't give a fuck or didn't say anything, and then they printed the sign, and then they put it up, and there's no, and it says gate open outward. I don't know, and that's just all you do. What are you gonna do? I don't know what you do about that. I teach my kids that he knows that that's not how you say it, and that's the best you can do. I'm 29. I feel like I sound like an angry old man when I complain to my friends about the Marvel films and how disposable so many Hollywood films are. Well, again, it's a why? To do what? You know, I mean, what are you gonna? Because nobody's complaining about it. That's a discussion I wouldn't even bother having. You don't understand. It's crap. Like, I mean, like, I mean, you can't, because if they knew that, you wouldn't have to say that, and they generally don't know that. If they don't know it, it's almost always because they're not exposed to it. That's almost always what it is. It's just like anybody else. You know, if they grew up in a tiny little town and you never leave the town, and there's two little restaurants, people will be like, this one's the good restaurant, and this one's the bad restaurant. Oh, no, this one's the good one, this is the bad one. They're both totally crap restaurants, but they don't know. They've never been outside the city. That's how it is. You know. Just like films are becoming increasingly focused on visual effects, I think music is becoming more about sound design. Yeah, a lot of it, because it's easier than learning how to fucking voice lead and modulate and have musical skill. What are you talking about? Hans Zimmer and his wall of synths have contributed to that a lot. I mean, you know, Hans Zimmer said, hey, I got this, and people said, yes, please. Okay. I don't think you blame Hans. Any thought on animated films, composers that stick out? Jerry Goldsmith? Well, I mean, again, that's Jerry Goldsmith. I mean, an animated film, doesn't matter what the medium is. If it's a good story and it's got drama more than plot, then I don't care what the medium is. And, you know, composer, these characters are expressing these dramatic moments and these relatable themes. Sure, doesn't matter. How many times can they tell the same damn origin story, right? I don't even watch them. I don't even, you know. Again, that origin stories that's a whole other thing. These are all things that you're not. Films today have very little in common. Again, with what would be even considered a film. I mean, films were very different. They came from different places. They expressed different things. They were made using a different mindset and a different skill set. They're just I don't know what they are, but they don't fit into the definition of what the previous 100-some years of films do. They're different things. Which again, that's in Hollywood. They still make films other places. You can go get them. Go get them. Go work there. Then you don't have to try to convince anybody anything. Believe me, it's not they don't make them anymore. It's just they just don't sell them. You just gotta go find them. They're out there. Does your conductor Neil Desby write music, score projects? He's a big time orchestrator on a lot of games, a lot of big games. He's been orchestrator on, lead orchestrator. He's orchestrator for Bear and a bunch of people, and conducting a lot of stuff. He does a lot of stuff. He's a good composer too. He's got a very quirky set of stuff that he writes. He doesn't have ambitions to do a film score. He could. He's a fantastic orchestrator. Really is. Really efficient and lean. Knows my stuff better than any human being on earth. Neil's the only guy that I could hand him a sketch and he could orchestrate it the way I would want it to. And such a great friend. Such a great friend. And has been so since he was my teacher at USC. He's great. Where do you rate James Horner? Where's some of your favorite scores by him? Well, I've done a whole class on Horner. You got to get it. It's called On Horner. Huge influence on me for all sorts of reasons and in all sorts of ways. My favorite score of his by far was the first one I ever really remember taking note of, which was Star Trek II. I appreciated a lot of Aliens. I liked The Rocketeer. I liked, as soon as I got his thing, I liked recognizing him when he was doing his thing. In that film that he did that. And, but huge. I think by the time his plane went down, I think he'd said the bulk of what he was going to say. But just personally, creatively, there's tons of Horner in my work. People almost never, there's actually as much Horner and Silvestri and Goldsmith in my work as Williams, and nobody ever points it out. They only ever point out the fact that there's a lot of Williams in my work. That's true. But it's like they never hear all the other stuff. And I'm like, there's at least 5 ideas I stole from Horner in there. Whatever. Just how it is. Thoughts on John Powell and his How to Train Your Grand scores? I mean, again, on the curve, I'm not a big fan of them. They sound busy, but they're fine. They're good. They're fine. They're good. Fine. I think that's about as much as I have to say on that. I mean, they're fine. They're fine. You know, I don't put them. There's not one thing John Powell's ever done that I would put up against the fucking Battle of Yavin from Star Wars. Not even like in the same. Not even. It's like, not even in the same. Not on the same ship going to the same destination. Not anything ever he's done would be on the level of any cue from my favorite Williams scores. I believe that's objectively, musicologically true. So, but fine. Who cares? Did you like the music? Yes. Good. Always listen to what you like. Don't let anybody tell you what's good and what you should like. Fuck that. Listen to what you like. Who cares what it is? Music's supposed to be joyous. Enjoy it. If you like John Powell music, you should listen to the shit out of it. You know what you should do? You should transcribe it, and then you should learn it, and then you should learn to be a player. And people go, man, you sound like John Powell. That'll make you feel real good. That's what you should do. I mean that. That's not even sarcastic. Well, the whole focus of Hollywood movies has been to appeal to the international market. I don't know. Yeah, probably. The title is The Big Picture, The New Logic of Money and Power in Hollywood. But yeah. You can read that book. I think you should read that book if you have illusions about being in Hollywood, or at least want to get a beat on it. I live in Los Angeles. I have not worked in Los Angeles in a long time. That's not true. I'm working on a thing now, but it's for a friend from back in the day. But I don't go to movies. They're not movies as far as I'm concerned, so I don't write them. I work in Europe and Japan, and I work for, it's like a clientele, a very specific clientele. So that's what I do. It's way better. As soon as my extended family is here, and for the interest and sake of my son and the family and all the things that are so convenient about us all being close and all coming together for all the holidays and the baseball and everything is all fine, I'm here. The day the kid's 18, when we're kicking him the fuck out the house, I'm getting the fuck out of Los Angeles. I'll be gone so fast, I'll arrive before I've left. You don't have to be in Los Angeles. When people are coming, like, should I come to Los Angeles? Should you come to 70,000 homeless people wandering around in the streets with all the potholes and the trash in them, while the other 2/3 of the people, or 3/3, or whatever it is, are wandering around, either talking about themselves or choking on the world's worst traffic with the worst taxes, so that you can pay $2.6 million for a 1,300 square foot postage stamp, and with neighbors that never even talk to each other for 30 years because they're all too busy thinking about themselves? No, I wouldn't recommend that. LA, what a fucking cesspool. I wouldn't come to LA. I won't buy a house in LA. I've never bought a house. I rent when I'm buying a house, buying fucking real estate. I can't take it. I can't do it. I have people buy houses. I'm like, oh, wow. Oh, how much you pay for this? Yeah. Oof, can't do it. I'm personally not really interested in working in Hollywood anymore. Just interested in peeking behind the curtain to see how the machine really works. It's a lot of corpse fucking. By the worst people you can imagine. Just the worst quality, just objectively bad human beings. People who would objectify children without even a second's thought and dry them up and then just send their fucking desiccated wreck of a lives out in the world and then prey on more children. That's what. And then give themselves parties and awards for it. All the time they give themselves parties and awards and placards, and then never ever go outside their little tiny bubble, and they just keep talking about how amazing and fantastic they are, and envisioning themselves as leaders of morality, and while they're the worst kind of racists and hypocrites and sexists. You could objectively improve the entire quality of the human race by burning this city to the ground and pushing the state into the ocean. You could say that was maybe the most humanitarian thing that had ever been done for the human race. That's so you could come to Los Angeles. You could do that. I second you on the LA thing. I'm getting older now and have no interest in living in Southern California, really California at all, to tell you the truth. No, I mean, I spent 5 weeks in my buddy's place in Florida, and it's got 5 acres, beautiful on this mountain. It's a great house, all this stuff. I'm like, you paid how much for this place? Oh, $200,000. go anywhere else in the country and money goes somewhere. Yeah, there is. It's called Sugarloaf Mountain. It's the highest point. Bicyclists always going up Sugarloaf Mountain. Big famous place for bicyclists. They got fucking bicyclists. It's like a pestilence plague of bicyclists. But anyway, yeah, you can get way more for your money, way better people, other places. So my advice would be stay wherever you are. Sugarloaf's about 45 minutes from me. Yeah. Claremont. He lives in Claremont. Swimming with Sharks. It seems like there's some truth in this movie. I haven't seen it, but it's, like I said, it's wow. I don't even film here anymore. You know, I direct a lot of stuff. I direct a lot of commercials and stuff. I don't shoot in this town anymore. They drove us out. We shoot everywhere else now because they did everything they could to make it too expensive and too many fucking restrictions and too much stuff. It's like they tried to drive the industry out, and they did. How do you play outside to not make it sound wrong? There is no wrong. There's only a context. If you take a chord, an F chord, because you got basically a 6/9. All the notes work. All 12 of them. Just depends on the context. Now, when you start doing jazz, you know, they teach all jazz wrong. When you start on jazz, and they always teach you the blues scale. And your first chord that you're doing over there is usually an F7. And what hits your brain right away in the blues scale is this note and the B, which sounds like something out of Star Wars. And you have no idea how to incorporate the blues scale in it, and they also haven't touched the most important thing, which is you're supposed to be writing melodies. They don't start with that. So that's why all your initial blues improvisations by kids sound like... It's like, holy fuck. And when I was learning jazz, you know, what I realized is that none of that shit worked for me. I didn't understand what to do with that. So I just started by realizing I'll start with just whatever in the chord tones I could use, and I'll just solo using the chord tones. Okay, good. Not great, but at least it all sounded fine. And then I started realizing I could build basic scales that would be out of, as long as it had the same tones that were in the, and I could find safe notes that my mother would enjoy. And it would just be. Okay, I had safe places to go, which sounded a lot more like something, but then it didn't have a lot of blues in it. It didn't have a lot of jazz in it to me. And so that's when I started realizing, well, you know, boy. I was like, those chromatic stuff can work if there's in a context. Like, that sounds like. So I realized it's really not the notes; it's how you use them. I mean, if you just hang out on this, okay, you're probably gonna have a problem. But if you've established a rapport with your audience such that they trust you, if you're staying in places. Everybody's okay. Nothing's going to hurt them, right? Okay, so, it's all safe. when you've established a rapport with somebody, if you're doing a lot of that stuff, and then you decide after you're doing that, and you step outside your, at some point, if you've already established a rapport with them, they'll go, that's funny, that was cool, did you hear that? And then you're totally outside because they know that that you know what you're doing, and then it makes people relax. When you give them safe white notes and all those things, it makes them relax. And relax, okay, he's good, he's not going to play, he's not going to embarrass himself. And then the times in which you go out can be fun for people to enjoy, no matter how hard it is. You know, oh, okay, he meant that. If you started out the gate with that, people get fucking upset because they, So the key to going out is to show that you can stay in and that you can craft a melody and something that wins people's confidence and makes them comfortable and you're not going to embarrass yourself and your mom likes. Then when they're listening to you and now you say, now let me get you a little bit out. Because they're like, wow, this guy says some wild, crazy shit. But they're with it because they're with you. I've lived in LA for 30 years. Since however long I died. 1990, I came out in 1990. That's a long time. 29 years. But, what are your favorite sample libraries? I stopped. I don't know. I don't use any of them anymore. That's not true. I mean, I every once in a while use them, but I still use what do I use? I think I'm still using sample modeling and adventure brass, and I think I'm using, I don't remember what I'm using for woodwinds. Berlin? I don't know. Strings, I think it's Hollywood strings. I think I ended up, I like those. And I think a lot of Spitfire percussion, mostly. I think that's what it is. Say where you are is not going to work for me. Wait, stay where you are. It's not going to work for me. Oh, it's here. The biggest budget movie says $4,000 to composer. Yeah, I hate to tell you that, but it's not like coming to Los Angeles to get you paid what you're worth. And plus, it's not how you get work. It's not. You're much closer to where work is. Europe has many more high-paying opportunities than Los Angeles does. I work as an editor in trailers. Boy, I edited most shorts of trailers in my day, as well as music. I'm wondering where I could go that is not in California to afford a better quality of life. Anywhere? But I'm not sure I'll be able to find work there. You don't find work there. You find work wherever it is. You just dial it in. You just get, I mean, plus if you need to, people are like, I might need to be called in. Nobody ever calls you in. Be here in 20 minutes. I say usually today's Monday. Can you be here Thursday? That's usually when it happens. You could live in fucking Jakarta and be here on Thursday. Be wherever you want. Nobody wants to leave their office anyway anymore. You don't have to have the 4,000, 5,000 square foot facility in the door whore anymore because all the executives want to come out and have you put their name on the parking space. I did all that. You don't have to do that anymore. You can be anywhere you want. Your robe on a boat. And like I said, the way that you get work, you can muscle it through a lot of industry events with a lanyard on, and then people are flying to those NAMM shows from all over the place. Otherwise, there's as much mystique that comes with being from another place as there does familiarity with being in this place. You can make it work no matter where you are, but I think you got to stay focused on where the people are and the projects are that are exactly the people and the projects you want to work on, and go there. Or if you're going to go, So just attended some jazz courses. John Williams was a session jazz piano player and a fucking great one. A masterful jazz pianist in the studio system. Do I follow any sports? Pro college? Not really. Baseball, if anything, because my kid's got a freakish arm. He's a little lefty pitcher. He's thrown through my old two baseball gloves. Fucking my Tom Seaver pitcher glove tore the fucking thing right out of it. Just almost hit me in the face. So I grabbed my Johnny Bench catcher's mitts. He buried that fucker right in the thing. All right, fuck that. I had to just buy a new mitt. I don't know. A kid got his arm. I mean, I trained him and did all that, but he's got his mechanics are together. He's got private pitching coaches and stuff, and he plays club ball. So we watch professional baseball a little bit. But again, he doesn't have aspirations to be a professional ball player, but he wants to be as great a pitcher as he just wants to be as good a player as he can be. So we watch some things, just to pick up some of the mechanics and stuff and also some of the gameplay stuff, just things, You know what I mean? Like he's moved up to the league now where they've got drop third strikes and shit, you know? So he's just sort of watching how pros will handle it in situations. But no aspirations there for sports that I can tell. But he really digs baseball, so we followed that a little bit. But otherwise, I like playing sports. I don't like watching sports. And when I do, I'd rather go live. That to me is, like watching on TV is not, that's not my thing. I love being in the game. I don't like watching the game. It's, yeah, look at that guy. You know, I've never been a spectator. I'm not good at spectating. I read somewhere John was played the Peter Gunn theme on piano and played in the movie West Side Story. I'm sure he did. Do you play any video games? I play, when I have time, a couple times a year, I'll go on a little binge, Call of Duty. And it's I don't remember. I think I still have Black Ops 2 sitting on the top, but I grabbed one of them recently. We played like Infinite Warfare or something. It's okay. I don't know. It doesn't have to be anything. Is it a gun? Yeah. Am I shooting people? They blow up? Yeah, great. That's all I need. I like first-person shooters. I always play. I told you I don't like teams. I'm not good with teams. I never play team games. I always play free-for-all. Fuck you. Everything it sees, I kill it. It's my score. It's how many I got. I like beating people. Me. I didn't get any help. I wasn't part of a team. I just went out there, killed everything that moved. That's what I like. And it's on Xbox. I think it'd be way better on console because I could use the mouse so much faster. But I Xbox. We have PS3 still, I think, or PS4. But I don't like those controllers. So I play a Call of Duty. My boy plays Battlefront from time to time. It's pretty cool. It's all right, Battlefront. I think you got Battlefront 2. There's a lot of bullshit in it, though, to me, somehow. I don't know. Mostly Call of Duty. And I think I play most of them. Like, I have them all. There's a couple of them that I like. You should check out Red Dead Redemption, Western Open World. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I've heard about that, I think. Yeah. I'm actually beginning to suspect the real money's in making and selling the sample libraries to other suckers. Yeah, no, it's it's like a thing. You don't need them, man. I don't have a lot of time to play video games. I just don't, I got like 5 different things that I'm doing, a lot of personal projects too. Video games. When I'm playing video games, it's because I have to there's a thing I got. It's like a group. It's like going to therapy or something. Like I have to be in. I'm playing it because I have to go in a place where my brain has to shut down, and I'm having a problem shutting my brain down, and it needs to shut down. That's pretty the only time you see me playing video games. So that's not that often. But we turn them up real loud when we play, though. Get the subwoofer going. That's why I like playing them when they're fucking, when shit fucking scares you. That's how I like playing that. That's how we turn them up. We turn them up, like, like 0 full scale. So you can actually hear all the people moving around without having the fucking headphones on. Yeah. Shut down by shooting up. Back in the gold rush days, guys selling the picks and shovels made the money, not the gold miners, right? I don't I don't really. I stopped with the campaign or whatever that is, where they call where you just play through the story. I remember I used to play them. That's what I would do. I'd get the game, play through the story. I guess everybody would do. And then one of the Call of Duties, I was like, it seemed like a lot of the. I don't know. I stopped playing them. Now I don't care. I just play a multiplayer. I just want to play multiplayer free for all. That's just I like that. And I won't play them long enough to like level up and get all the fucking shit. I did that one time, like you did it, and you got all the stuff, and eventually end up with a fucking diamond gun or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I got all the perks and all the shit, and then I was like, that took me way too fucking long. So generally, if I'm online playing, and you can usually tell because I'm pretty sure my gamer tag is Mike Verda. I always use Mike Verda. That's who I am. I'm not the lawgiver. Okay, it's Mike Verda. I'm playing. Yeah, Mike Verda's got his ass handed to him, or he beats your ass. I like that. Either way, yeah, keep it real. Pretty sure it's either that or M. Verda. It's one of the two. I was just saying. So now it just would take so long to get all the shit that I'm usually running around on a map, like at level 7, with whatever the default loadout is. And there's all guys that are all clocked in with all the shit, just so it's like, they can see through walls and they can hear me. They've got all these perks and they've got these weapons, these ridiculous fucking overkill weapons, one-shot kill weapons, and I've got some like little pea shooter thing. Like that's always how it is. But then if I manage to win a round or two, it's like, yeah, how about that? I bought that guy who's, you know, what do they call it, prestiged or whatever, like 6 times. He's 6 times. He's got his own custom gun. You put that guy down a couple of times, you feel like you've done something. You did it with a default loadout from the guy who just came back from Best Buy with the disc. I don't know. To me, that's a good feeling. Well, I got to hit the hay. Well, I think we should all. So I can wake up a half hour before the FIFA Women's World Cup. Oh, okay. England and Sweden. Thank you very much for the indigenous. Oh, yeah, sure, anytime. I used to prefer games to the story, but eventually realized I was just fast-forwarding through all the dialogue and story parts. I still like shooting. My boy's into all vintage stuff. Nintendo, Mario. He's got Mario Maker, Super Mario Maker, whatever it is. His birthday present is Super Mario Maker 2, I think it is. He plays the fuck. He makes levels on Mario Maker all day. Loves Mario. All side-scrolling vintage stuff. We have a whole vintage arcade, one of those arcades upstairs. Like, you know, with the thing, it's one of those, not main cabinets, but it's like that. It's got all the video games, all the classic ones. We have that thing. He plays all the old ones. He likes all the old video games. From the line art Atari stuff, but mostly it's Mario. He's all about Mario. The Mario, Super Mario, World 2, World 3, Mario goes fucking nuts. I don't know all these Marios he plays. He knows all the shit about him. That's what he's into. All vintage stuff in this house. You know what he doesn't play? Fortnite. He thinks he hates that. He's looked at it. He's like, I'm not playing that. He hates Fortnite. Yep, I love single-player games by myself. Yeah. Anyway, thanks everybody for hanging out on a little Friday night. Gonna go and Mario Goes Fucking Nuts was my favorite Mario game. Yeah, that's a good one. Or whatever. There are all these Marios. I didn't know there was that many Marios, and I really only know them because now he's learning the music for all of them. He's playing all these. No, Dad, that's the Underworld world with the. There's all these there's so many creatures now, you know? Anyway, he's playing them all. That's all he's got a countdown calendar to Super Mario 2. That's like his thing. That's on his poster, on his wall. Fucking Super Mario 2. It's got it on my phone. This is it. And this is his birthday countdown. I'm sure I'm not lying. It's his birthday countdown. Draco's birthday. It's right there. And he wanted it with his countdown with Super Mario. That's what he wants. And it's 2 months, 1 day, 18 hours. That's what he wants. Super Mario. Yeah? Anyway, again, a Saturday morning, right? All right. Well, you guys. Oh, yeah, it's Saturday morning. All right. Well, go enjoy your Saturday. Get some sleep, and we'll see you again. Again, still through the weekend. If you haven't, take advantage of the sale. Glory 40 is the coupon, 40% off. Don't worry about which class. Just whatever sounds interesting to you, take advantage of it. We'll be doing more live classes. I don't know when the next one's going to be, because it won't be in July, won't be in August. Might be in September, won't be in October, won't be in November, might be December will be Unleashed. So there really may be only one other live masterclass this year. So might as well get up to speed on the old ones, and save money while you're doing it, because why would you not? You know what I mean? Like I said, I don't think there's another sale until, I don't know, I have to look. Whenever the sales are, there's holidays, you can wait for that too. And if you do like the classes, tell those other composers about them. Let's get more of us together. Let's build an army of that's how we'll bring it back. We'll just be like, we'll all be sea biscuits, just standing in the stalls, just waiting for somebody to ring that fucking bell. Maybe somebody will ring the bell. You never know. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good rest of your weekend, start of your weekend. I don't know. Some people have a feeling that Friday night is the start of a weekend. I'm sort of a Saturday. Friday night is just getting up to speed. So have a good Friday, Saturday weekend, all the rest, and see you in the next one.